What is going on, guys? So today we are going to be working on a big, what do you want to call it, RV? It's huge. So we got a call. It had some cracks in the fiberglass. My painter guy, he was just kind of subleased the work out to us, and he's going to end up taking care of the rest. So today we're going to do a video on repairing the fiberglass. Be quick and easy, kind of teach you guys a little bit about the process, and that way you guys can do it on your own. Then you can call Lane for some paint. So here's the RV. He's already been working on it. Got the side painted there already, and he's working on all this. The clear coat had been delamming. It's not looking very good, and customer wants it to look good again. So here is one of the cracks. We're gonna go ahead and just kind of grind this guy out, and we're gonna use some fuser and repair that guy and get it into primer, so then Lane can come back and get this thing painted. There's one more way up there, but we'll get a video of that when we get up there and start repairing. All right, well, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start repairing this first crack. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna start with grinding all this crack out. What I'm gonna try to do is get to the bottom of the crack, and I'm gonna create a little bevel on each side, make a little valley, so when we go to fill it back in with our fuser, it has something to lay into and something to bite against and kind of fill this whole crack. You don't want to just go straight over this and fill it up with some mud. It's just not going to bite very well, and the crack is going to end up growing back. So we'll just go ahead and set the camera down and get a little footage of that. And all right, well, first step, let's have a little talk. Don't do what I do. When you're grinding out this fiberglass, definitely have some sort of face protection, something to keep you safe from the fiberglass. Don't try to breathe it in. Normally, typically, I would wear a face mask myself, but we're doing this on a remote location. We're not doing it in our shop. I had to come out to their location, and I forgot my mask. So, you know, typically, we would be using the safety. But, so, we've got it all grinded out now. You can see where the crack was. Got it all grinded out, and I've kind of done like a 90-degree angle V-valley in there. So then that's gonna give us something to put our fuser in, make the new material bite into it. So next, I'm gonna kind of just come out a little bit farther here with some 80 grit, give it a real nice etch, so then when we put the material on, it'll have something to grab to. Same thing. You just don't want to put something on a unprepped surface. It just ends up delamming, and it'll give you problems later. All right, now that we've got it fully prepped around the edges with an 80 grit scratch, you want to go ahead and just cover up all your edges. Anything that you don't want the fuser to be around, it can be a little sloppy. So just kind of take a little protective precaution to that. And then blow everything out with the air blower, whatever you've got to kind of clean up the product or the material. So it's nice and clean when you're getting ready to apply the new fuser. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna be using 100 EZ fuser. It's a 2-part hardener. Comes in a tube and a gun like that. I don't have any mixing tubes, so what I'll do is I'll just pump it onto some cardboard, mix it up real well, and start spreading it on. So we'll go ahead and get some video of this step here. All right, so I'm just gonna pump out a good little puddle here. That's probably more than plenty on the board. I'll just go ahead and mix it up. You can see the two colors. That's a 2-part. One's a hardener and one's the actual agent. So you want to just keep mixing it until it's all one color. You don't want to have like a jawbreaker look to it. If it has multiple colors and, you know, stuff like that, then you know it isn't all the way mixed. Same goes with body filler anything like that, when you're mixing it up, you only have a time frame to actually mix it. So you want to be fast, but you want it to be thorough. Because say if you don't get all the hardener mixed into the mud, you're gonna have soft spots in your mud, and you're gonna have a bad time. End up having to grind it all back out and start over. So it looks pretty good mixed there, all one color. We'll go ahead and just start smashing it in the hole. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Now this stuff does turn rock solid, so don't be getting it anywhere that you don't want it to be. If you do, clean it up fast enough where it isn't going to cause you problems an hour from now. Be working for days trying to get this stuff off. So what I like to do when I'm spreading it in here is I like to build it up thick. I don't want to come back and do multiple layers, so I'll build it all up one shot real thick, and then just spend my time lowering it back down to level, blocking it out, get it to the right shape. All right, so now we've got all this stuff set up. We're gonna go ahead and start heat setting it. Just use a normal heat gun. Get it on there and just start kind of working it. You're still gonna wanna use your spreader. As you start heating it up, it's gonna start moving around a little bit and trying to be kind of runny on you, but it'll start setting up faster. It is a heat set product. So just keep that in mind as you're heating it, to keep moving it back into place, especially when it's not level, you're going up and down. And that's usually about it. Just be careful with your heat. Don't be getting onto the fiberglass too much with the heat, you know, because everybody knows you get too much heat on fiberglass to catch that bad boy on fire. All right, so it is all set up. That stuff is hard as a rock. Turns into like a candy coated type of stuff. It's super hard to sand with 80 grit. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go back with our little die grinder, our angle grinder with 36 grit on it. And we will grind that down pretty much flush and flat. And then after we're done with that, we'll come over with a little bit of body filler and just make it all nice and smooth, make it look good, and get it ready for primer. So so we went ahead and got that all grinded down. You guys could see in the video how long it took to grind down too. I mean, that was a pretty hefty grit on there. And so you can see how hard and strong that stuff is that we put in there. You know, that's not typically the way that everybody fixes fiberglass either. This is just the way that we like to do it. It's tried and true. We fix all our boats with it. Any type of fiberglass, you can use this stuff, and it's just super strong. So after I was done grinding it down, we went back with some 80 grit again, give ourselves a nice good edge to it. I'm gonna just throw some body filler on there and let it dry, and then we'll get back to sanding it. So after, all right, so I got this mud on the board here, kind of the same process, two-part. Make sure you mix it up well. Don't let it look like a jawbreaker. Pretty much the same process as before. This stuff hardens a lot faster, so you want to get moving on it. The more hardener you put in it, the faster it's going to dry. Got about a 2-minute working process with it before it's fully hardened. Can't spread it anymore. Like I said, just with the other stuff, I kind of like to put it on heavy. I don't like to keep adding mud over and over again to get it flat. So what I like to do is I like to add a lot of mud on at the beginning, and then you can just sand it off and you should be good to go. You may have to do one more glaze coat after that if you have any pinholes. Something I was taught back in the day by some really good body guys that I learned from is take your time spreading. The motto is more time spreading, less time sanding. So think of it as a nice birthday cake, and just spread out your ends really nice and even. Get them blended out like that, so then when you're sanding, you ain't trying to sand a hard edge out. And the harder you push, the better it is. Kind of keeps the pinholes out, it pushes the air pockets out of there. So when you start sanding, you're going to see pinholes. You're always going to have to go back with a little glaze, fill in your pinholes. But you try to keep the work as minimal as possible. So that's pretty smooth right there. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so the mud is all dry, ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and sand it down with some 80 grit. I'm not gonna go very far with the 80 grit though. I'm just gonna knock all the heavy edges down, and then I'm gonna go with 180 and then 320. I'd like to do it all in one sand, and that way we can get straight to priming. But you always wanna finish out your mud work with 320 before you prime. That'll help with sanding scratches and shrink back later on. When the painter goes to paint, he don't wanna have to deal with shrink back. So the better you can do your body work, the happier he's gonna be. And you gotta keep your painter happy. So that last spot, what I did is I just took the DA with 320. I wasn't shaping the mud or anything like that. All I was going is going back and killing all my blocking scratches. So when you block, you're going this way, and it has straight line scratches. So when you come back with the DA and going in circles, it's gonna get rid of all those scratches, and just makes it for better. The shrink back doesn't show as bad. So good practice is always go back and DA it just a little bit to knock them down. And then we went ahead and gone out back and masked. So I like to back mask, and if you see, I put it on backwards almost and then roll the paper over, and they call that back masking. And the reason you do that is when you go to prime this, you're gonna get overspray that blows here and all around the edges, and that'll create a soft line. So if I were to go and put my tape on, let me grab a piece, and I were to mask it off this way and have paper there, you'd have a hard line right here. And then when that hard line shows and you prime to it, you always have a hard line. Even if you sand it out, you'll still see it in the bodywork later after being painted. So this is a good practice to do, is do a back mask and have a soft line. All right, so we've got it all ready to roll. Got my gun cleaned out, checked my pattern. Everything looks good for primer. So on this, we're just gonna be using an aqua-based primer. Real nice to use inside a closed shop, inside of customers' buildings and stuff like that. It has no smell, dries pretty quick. You can sand it in about 45 minutes with a little bit of air, drying it off. So I'll just show a little quick video of us priming it real quick, and then you just repeat this process 3 times and you are good to go. So let's check it out. So one thing I'm doing when I'm prime is I'm not bringing my primer all the way to the tape's edge, all the way to the paper. So that's all the farther you want to go. Leave that extra edge open, and it won't create any hard lines, anything like that. Just because you gave yourself a big enough box doesn't mean you want to use it. So always over mask on your bodywork. It doesn't look bad though. I'm happy with it. Go up here, up the stairs, prime out this other spot. And Lane, he's got a few spots on here he wants to prime as well. Go ahead and take care of those at the same time. And get my gun in here. All right, so all you have to do is let that dry, come back and put you know, 1, 2, 3 more coats on it, however much you desire. I like to go 3 to 4 with this aqua base because it is a little bit thinner than high build, so you want to put an extra coat on just for your sanding purposes. So we'll pretty much go through, prime all these other spots, and she'll be ready to roll. But that'll be it for this video. We appreciate y'all watching, and stay tuned. We'll have definitely more videos on how to repair things, a little bit of paint, any how-to videos. That's what we're gonna try to do. So as always, we appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time. Thanks.